So welcome to the first Off the Wall Wednesdays video at Armor Templates. As you can see, this is a spot in my shop that you guys are not familiar with. I do own a small lathe. It's not a very good lathe. It's old, it's kind of beat up. I had to do some repairs to it. And it's a metalworking lathe, and I intended to use it for building some stuff with metal. Today we are not going to be building with metal though, we are building with wood. This is Australian Coolabah, or I guess Coolabah, or however you guys would say it down there. Anyway, I'm going to make a ring today. I've seen some guys do this, but have never tried it myself, not with this. So I'm going to give it a shot and just see what comes of it. So let's get started. So the first issue we have to overcome is this is a square block of wood, obviously, or very close to square. This is a 3-jaw chuck. Now, 3 jaws will not grip this thing evenly. If it were a 4-jaw chuck, I could make it so it would work, but this definitely won't. So what I have to do, off camera, I'm going to sand this down a bit. I don't know if you can see that, but I have a basic circle marked, and I'm going to take it to a belt sander and just sand away some of this so that I have a little bit more of a round surface to be able to put inside this chuck. So I'm going to do it off camera and I'll be right back. Okay, that's a little bit better. It's still pretty rough, of course, but this is doesn't really need to be perfect yet. It will perfect itself as we turn it. So get that pretty tight, but not so tight that it breaks. And as you can see, it now is able to turn in there fairly straight. So as we turn it, this will become perfectly straight compared to this, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so let's get the tools in here and start working on it. Okay, I know that the tool is sort of in the way here, but it's very difficult to film in this little corner of the garage. So let's turn this thing on and see what happens. I'm just going to basically start getting this down to a more rounded shape than square, because square rings would be stupid. Worked out nicely. So after that mishap, it occurred to me that I should probably be supporting it from the rear, so it doesn't fly out of there again. So let's try that again. Much better. Okay, so as you can see, it's pretty well round now. So all I'm going to do now is remove this from the chuck, turn it around, and do this side so I have more to work with. Okay, so I call that pretty good on both sides. It's not 100% perfect. And this side may have some issues because I have some voids there. But maybe not. There's definitely some voids here too. Just something we'll have to work around, and some of the I'm going to try to make a couple of rings out of here, or several, but some of them obviously won't work perfectly. So, but this is a good start. Okay, so now I need to change this out for a drill attachment instead. So the drill attachment looks like this. Just goes in there the same exact way, sort of. Okay, and you just put a regular drill bit in here, and we're going to drill a hole into the backside of this ring. Okay, now that 1/2 inch drill bit is too small for the inside of this ring, or potential ring. So I have this set up with a different tool in here, and I'm just going to go in there and just take away some more of the inside of this with it, kind of freehand. Okay, so now I have this thing a little easier to see, and I am a little concerned about this crack here. I think these little additions make it kind of cool if it survives the process, you know, the creation process. But we'll have to see how well this does in the next few steps. Somewhere down in here is probably a better spot for a ring, but we're going to try and get as most out of this piece as we can. So what we're going to do now is take a file and begin shaping the wood by hand instead of with a tool. And that's just to get a rounded shape. We're just kind of freehanding it. We're going to do round out this shape as well on the inside, so it's a little bit more contoured. So let's give that a try. That's looking pretty cool. I think now I'm going to switch to some sandpaper to try and get it a little bit more contoured and perfect. So let's try that. Okay, now this is 220. Okay, that worked pretty well. see the edges are nice and soft now. There's nothing sharp anymore. But now we need to worry about cutting this ring off. And we're going to be sort of trying to mimic this curvature on this side, but now we have to use tools to cut it. So I'm a little worried about this piece too. But we'll see how it goes. So I think I'm going to make it a little bit wider than a traditional ring, just a little bit, just to make sure that this cut here doesn't give me too much trouble. So let's see what happens. So I'm sure it's a little bit hard to see while I'm doing that, but I'm trying to mimic this curvature from this side onto this side. It's not perfect, but we're going to try and get a little bit closer to perfect before we end up cutting this off. Now I'm contemplating, I don't think I'm going to do it, but I was thinking about doing like a channel inside here as well. We'll see what happens. But I want to get this shaped most of the way before I end up cutting this thing off. Some of this will have to be shaped by hand at the end because I will have to do the sanding that I did on this side by hand on this side, because obviously it will be off of the lathe once I have made that final cut. So let me try sanding this a little bit more and getting the surface a little bit more even. And there is the tragedy of creation. We have failed in this attempt. That is unfortunate. Okay, so instead of risking what happened last time, I don't have any real cutoff tools here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this out of the lathe and I'm going to go cut this off on the bandsaw, because I have to do this edge by hand anyway, so there's no point in trying to make it perfect. So let me go do that off camera, and hopefully this works without shattering this thing. Okay, so yes, that did work. Now I have to sand this down obviously, but this is looking pretty good. It didn't explode, so it looks better than the last one. Okay, now we're just going to take this and sand it a bit on a flat surface. Until that little ridge is gone. Okay, now that ridge is gone, but this side, as you can see, is nice and round and soft, and this side is very harsh. So we're going to fix that with sandpaper and just do this by hand. So basically just put this in here and do a whole lot of this until it looks like the other side. Okay, it's got some flaws in it, but that's what wood looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and leave those. I don't have much choice. But as you can see, the sanding worked. It looks like they're pretty even on both sides. So now we're going to seal this thing, and we're going to do that with super glue. Okay, so we'll take a little bit of super glue. I'm trying to do this and not get it on my camera here. But just some liquid super glue. Don't use that thick stuff, use this. And just turn the Dremel on the lowest setting you got. And it will dry pretty quickly. But I still leave it go for a little while. And we're going to do this like probably 4 times. You can already kind of see the grain is showing much better, and the color differential or differentiation, if that's the right word. You see how dark this is and how light this is, and just how nice this wood actually looks, if you excuse those little cracks. Anyway, I'm going to do this several more times, and then I'll show what it looks like. Okay, the super glue has been allowed to dry overnight, and I made sure to put a lot of glue down in these little cracks here. This is a 4000 grit sanding pad. It's really just like a polishing pad. This just feels as smooth as can be. A lot of guys will sand these with different grits or whatever and get up to pretty high grits to do like a high polish. I'm just going to do 4000 because there's not a lot of glue in here, and I'm afraid to eat too far into the super glue. So basically all I'm going to do is get this wet, and turn this on low speed and just let it sand it away. Okay, no, actually there was enough glue on there. As you can see, it's nice and shiny, and just need a little bit of polishing to get it to work. I'm not real happy with those cracks, but it seems like it's pretty solid, and I think I'm just going to let it go. Of course, this isn't, for sale or anything. If I was making it to give away or to sell, obviously I would take a little bit more time and build another one. Plus, these are a little bit small. I knew up front that they would be too small to make actual rings out of. So, but this was a neat experiment, and actually I might revisit this later on and do something with metal as well. I think it'd be kind of cool. So, but I'm pretty happy with the way that looks. I think it's pretty neat, and the wood itself is really cool. So, if you got a lathe or even just a Dremel, give this a shot yourself. Pretty neat. I forgot to mention too that you should be painting the inside of the ring with super glue as well, because it will make it maybe not waterproof, but definitely water resistant. And if somebody's washing their hands or whatever, you don't want them to have to take the ring off every time. So I don't think I would take a shower with it, but washing your hands should be okay. Yeah, I made a second one. And this one's a lot nicer. Look at the grain of that. That's awesome. Very nice.
Be sure to see my full-length narrated tutorials where I show you how to make real armor with ordinary tools. Be sure to subscribe and click that bell so you get all notifications when I put out new videos. And if you want to see all the behind-the-scenes stuff, find me on Facebook and Instagram at the links you see on your screen. And while you're here, check out some of these other videos I've got.